Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. I'm your host, Teri Wellbrock, and super excited to have with me today Swirl Jordan Moore, and she is COO at Vitalist Project, which I'm so excited to learn about. I don't do a whole lot of research on my guests beforehand. I mean, I get, bios and all that stuff, and I read through, but I like to not know going in because it helps me just ask those real authentic questions because I want to learn, right? And if I know all the answers ahead of time, I might not ask those questions. So welcome, Swirl.
Thank you so much. I love that approach. It's all about keeping that beginner's mind and being a lifelong learner. So I'm excited to be here.
Yes, well, for sure. Well, I told you I was reading through your bio, and it's funny because, we get these like almost one sheets, right? That have, like, here's all the good details. And normally I'll put like stars by things, and I'm like, ooh, I'd really like to learn about that or that. And yours is kind of covered with underlines and stars because there were so many different things that I was like, ooh, that, ooh, wait, that, ooh. So well, first talk to us about the Vitalist Project. What is that?
The Vitalist Project is the project that my husband and I have created to bring vitalistic practices to the world. And ultimately, vitalism is uh, basically the belief that we are energetic, vital beings that are connected with everything universally, and that we have innate wisdom within us that knows how to heal itself and knows what it needs to come into homeostasis and live an aligned and fulfilled life in balance. And a long time ago, like in the early 1900s, there was a report that went out called the Flexner Report that kind of threw out vitalism as a belief system or a practice and went very let's kind of chemical in a way. And they decided that in the medical industry that we are a bag of bones and chemicals. And because we're made of chemicals, then we can be fixed by chemicals. And then that kind of created the whole paradigm that people have been living in for, 100 years, where really we believe in that innate and in the ancient interweaving that we have as human beings in an evolutionary process. So we bring all of the vitalistic practices through our project together that we have found that help really invigorate the vitality of the body and help unify the being and with themselves and with source, and so that they ultimately feel fulfilled and whole.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And I just think it's such important work. And I applaud you and say kudos to you for doing it because I think more and more people are starting to wake up to that realization that we have that power within us. The answers are there. We just have to be able to tune that radio dial in, right? And listen and pay attention to. I've learned that, and it's been fascinating. Like intuitive eating is one of the things I've started to utilize more and more in my own life. And I'll even like stand in the kitchen and hold something and be like, okay, like what do you think, body? Is this what you're
Mhm.
needing right now? And then I'll like fall forward and I'll be like, all right, that's a yes. And sometimes I'll be like almost like stumbling backwards and I'm like, okay, nope, not that today.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really great tool, like using your body as a pendulum to basically muscle test and tune in, because the body doesn't lie. The body will always tell you the truth of the moment and the truth of what is needed. And so that's actually one of the techniques I love to share with people, is how to turn their body into a pendulum to just get clear yes or no answers so they can begin to feel guided by the truth of their body, which is the house to, the soul and every, other part of us that really creates our whole. So,
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I was telling you about, my little bit of remaining um, rash that's hanging on. And that's a really great idea then to be like, talk to it and ask it, the yes and no questions of what's going to be best for it in the moment, for
Mhm.
helping. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, of course.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I know, and we're kind of touching upon it right now, but one of the things was, empower your inner healer, activating your body's natural healing abilities. So do you like work with people in a coaching sense? How do you help people do that?
And so I have a multiple ways that I do that. I do work, I teach different, the lineages that we carry forward. So, which is Alphabiotics and EDGU. My husband and I both teach that through the Vitalist Project. And so these are practices that one is a hands-on technique that helps reboot the brain and bring it into whole brain function and out of a stress state. And that's ultimately what we have found is that stress is basically the leading cause of most dis-ease in people's lives and in their body. And so if we can help them come out of that stress state and into a whole brain function, then the body comes into balance and then it's connected and in tune with that innate wisdom that we were just talking about that knows what's best, and it can hone into that deep, deep truth of what the body needs, and it actually has the resources to begin to heal itself. So we offer this practice, which is Alphabiotics, but we also run the Alphabiotic Training Academy, training people how to offer this to other people because it is a hands-on modality. And so that's a big goal that we have and that we love to do, is to teach as many people as we can, so that way this work can be shared, because humans need it now more than ever to come out of that stress state, to come into homeostasis and be in a place where they can really step into healing themselves and allowing the body to do what it does best.
Alphabiotics. I've never heard of that's so cool. And so is it like Reiki-ish? I mean, when you say hands-on, is it something you can do through Zoom? Because I know some people can do like energy work through Zoom, or you really like you have to be in person with someone.
You do have to be in person. There's a version that can be done, like me sending the signal through my intention and energetically, um, just like we are right now. However, we don't actually have the ability to test to see if it's working to the same degree as when we do the hands-on modality. We actually get to physically send the signal to the brain. And that's what we do when we're in person, is we have a metric of tests that we do before and after, so that we can see how is stress affecting the body, what patterns are playing out here. Then we interrupt the pattern and then we go back through the exact same test so that we can see that biomechanical balance and equal like voltage power from the brain to the body is turned back on.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh. I need to find you.
I
Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Nevada City, California, and we do have a directory that you can find different alphabioticists around the world. And it was kind of a like hidden gem secret for a really long time. It kind of held within the one family for years. This actually started coming into being a little over 100 years ago, and then it became synthesized, and we learned more and more about it as it went from one generation to the next and to the next. And once we had EEG equipment, then we were able to actually see what we were doing to that is changing the brain waves and changing the activity in the brain and moving from being stuck in one hemisphere lateralized into the hindbrain, sending the signal, doing the alignment process. That's what it's called, the alignment process. And then immediately in like zero point 0.4 seconds, the brain scans the field, realizes it doesn't need to be in the survival mode, will come back into a growth and repair mode, and the power will move to both hemispheres of the brain into the forebrain, and we'll see high frequency beta brain waves lower to high alpha, theta, and even delta brainwaves equally on both sides instead of mainly on one. So we've been able to actually see beyond just what is, what's felt when someone receives the process, what's actually happening. And so then creating our profession and bringing it out from there, even synthesizing the technique so that it becomes, it's very specific technique, and it's also has become much easier to learn than what it used to be. With the third generation of the family, he was able to really like make it in a way where people can learn it a lot more easily, and didn't have to be super athletic. You do have to be fit to be able to really do this for a long period of time. But so we're just coming into a place in the recent years where we have an amazing program developed and a lot of really great ability to teach other people how to do this so that we can spread it more wide and share it. And so more people start to find out about it, and instead of like, I've never heard of that before. Because we get that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
People who've been in the wellness industry for years is like, I've never heard of that. And it's like, well, this is why it's kind of a hidden gem. And now we're really ready to bring it into the light and keep sharing, because it is a physical technique, but it touches on a very metaphysical level of the human as well, because it's sending an energy signal into our brain, which is our electricity system, which is, correlated to our nervous system and our levels of consciousness, even of like what is accessible by being in a whole brain function and being in that like true human level of function and reaching our potentiality. So it's quite amazing.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it, and I'm so intrigued. And yeah, I've been doing the show for almost 8 years now, and it had not come across my radar. So I'm just fascinated. And so, is it physical symptoms? Is it mental? Like if somebody has PTSD, is it like spiritual? Like is it that you're saying whole body? Is it just bringing all of those bodies back into balance?
Exactly. No matter what it is that's going on, what we found is that we really are concerned with the cause versus the effect. So even though people come to us with all kinds of symptoms, we really want to get to the root of what is causing those symptoms. And like I said, most of the time it is stress, and it's being locked into a chronic state of distress where the brain is stuck in survival mode. And when survival is priority, then things like cell production, digestion, respiration kind of just goes on the back burner. It's not like it's not happening, but it's not getting a lot of the body's energy. And so that can create so many different things, whether it is, PTSD has happened, and now the person is locked into that state and is having a cascade of other issues happening to their body in their life, even. Or someone who has, say a physical injury, or is going through some other type of emotional issue like a divorce or something, it's really beneficial for majority of people. I've actually never tested anybody who wasn't chronically locked into a stress state, that we could then help get into the most favorable circumstances for them to do what they do best. And then of course, so many other practices, even the other practices that we do, then work better because the person is in that whole brain state of function, and they're able to just be more resourced, be more easily. And it's really an adaptation system over time. The brain begins to adapt to the stressors versus not,
Yeah.
because really we're just not adapted to modern life,
It's
ultimately.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to me. And I know people who listen, my longtime fans are like, oh my gosh, Teri, you're talking about it again. But I'm just going to bring it up because I'm fascinated by it. So, horrific early life trauma. Did EMDR therapy for 4 years, and starting in 2013, when I finally stepped onto the healing path. I'd been battling severe panic attacks for 25 years, and now all that's gone. But as we continued to peel layers away, and over those 4 years of that therapy, and processing all that trauma, letting that negative stored energy go, as I call it, um, I all of a sudden found that, like, we live on beautiful Hilton Head Island, right? I used to love to walk along the beach, and that was my favorite place. Like, the Pisces in me, right? It's the ocean,
Mhm.
it's healing. I couldn't be in open spaces. Like, I would feel the need, like, to be a hermit crab and want to hide, and like, so is that something then that could help with, like, whatever that's stuck, like, I guess something is still in there that we were never able to access, no matter how hard we tried. I've done somatic work, I've done tapping, I've done it all, but we just can't get to that thing.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't like to make claims, but
Yeah.
I know that when someone is stuck in a
Stuck.
stress
Yeah.
state, that when we help reboot their brain, and it's just like pressing the computer or the reset button on your computer. Like when you're bogged down, the computer's bogged down, it's like got the rainbow wheels spinning, things aren't working right, it's kind of glitching out. Then we all know to just push the reset button, it restarts, and all of a sudden it's working great.
Yeah.
Our body is the exact same, and our brain is our biocomputer. And so when we can reset our brain, then all of these things, these pieces that are, where deep inside and whatever else has happened can start to resolve themselves, where the stress is actually being resolved from the body and liberated. You're
Yes.
transforming it versus just managing it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I've said so many times, I just want to find my reset button. Like, I've talked to God about it, my angels, spirit guides, whatever. Like, I'm just like,
Yeah.
where's the reset? There's just this, like, the rash needs a reset, and the autoimmune, and yeah. So I love this. I mean, again, I know you can't make any guarantees, and I would never expect that, but it's just so fascinating to be able to learn, like, oh, you can access a reset button. Yeah.
Yeah, you can. It's quite amazing. And it's not that there's not other ways to fully reset the brain. Like our other practice that we do, EDGU, is great for helping maintain brain balance, bring in brain balance and maintain it. Kundalini yoga, breath work, there are tons of different things that are out there. Even meditation can help bring the brain into balance. However, those types of practices are really low sensory input. And so it takes a long time to come into balance, and therefore you're not going to stay in balance for very long. With the alphabiotic alignment process, it's a high sensory input that happens very quickly and then lasts usually 72 to 78 hours, depending on the lifestyle, for the first time. And which is astonishing compared to anything else that we found. And I'm always looking for things that do this, because it's like if I can find something that actually resets the brain in this way and helps the body come into balance and be in tune with the innate intelligence that is within each of us, that connects each of us, then that's the goal. Like that's what I want. I want as many humans to be in balance and living their potential, to be able
Yeah.
to resolve these stressors and adapt to living a life where they do feel fulfilled. Even if you
Yeah.
feel like you have a fulfilling life, there's still the accumulation of stress that has happened in the body.
Right.
And the body is the key, as we talked about in the very beginning. It's like the body knows the truth. And so we have to get into the body to really feel. And when we can reveal those things, and then we can feel those things, and then we can heal those things,
Yeah.
whatever they may be.
And again, I'm hearing you as, it's not a magic fix. It's that it's just realigning the balance, right? And then so that you can do that healing work, and you're not stuck in that fight or flight or fawn or freeze or all of those things.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it's oftentimes it's something that we recommend staying in balance, because we get a 12-to-1 ratio that we found. What I mean by that is, for every 1 month that someone stays in alignment, it will help resolve and release about a year or 12 months
Wow.
of accumulated stress. So depending on how long someone's been stuck in a stress state will depend on how long we would want to see them fairly regularly. But it's like as you go and you stay in balance, like I said, the brain starts to adapt, and slowly but surely you don't need to get aligned so often. And then it eventually just becomes like pure maintenance. I know where I'm at this point, I've been receiving alignments since 2012. And so I'm often in balance, but I still have a modern lifestyle. I still travel on airplanes to teach and to lead events. And I get in crazy, like almost car accidents, or someone like cuts me off, or these different things still happen in my life and in my body, and my brain still perceives it as a threat. And so I might be able to keep myself in balance because I'm more adapted, but sometimes I still go out of balance. And so it's definitely something that I found just helps everything be that much better.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it that you said flying in airplanes. My daughter is 18 and she's a freshman at a university in Florida where she's studying to become a pilot. And so she's got her private pilot license. So yesterday we were talking about flying and, these crazy accidents that have been happening. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's just not natural for humans to be 30,000 feet in the air. And she's like, it's the safest way to travel. So we were like having this whole conversation, but I'm like, it's still stressful, kid.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And it is. I mean, and like I said, being in cars is stressful. It's the
Yeah.
modes of transportation that we have now are amazing. And at the same time, they're pretty new to us as a species. We were designed, as hunter-gatherer bodies where we're only going as fast as our feet are running. And so having these forms of these modes of transportation that we can go so fast and so far, then it creates an impact that we don't even fully
Yeah.
know at this point. But I can tell from my experience and being able to test myself and my clients that it definitely has an effect on the body. And basically, because it's like the brain doesn't, it's a perception organ, it doesn't know the difference between someone cutting you off in traffic and like an alligator coming out of the river while you're picking berries, like it doesn't know the difference. It just knows that there's a threat and it needs to survive.
Yeah.
So that's our goal, is to really help humans adapt to the modern lifestyle, because it is amazing. Some of these innovations that we have now and the technologies that are accessible to us is really, really cool. We have, the ability to be connected worldwide with our resources and each other. And so we don't want, we're not going to change that. We're going to keep growing and evolving as a society. We just want to help humans adapt along the way.
Sure. Sure. I mean, I know I have to, like, I don't watch the news, but even on social media, like, I have found myself going, okay, block that page, block that
Mhm.
page. I'm not doing it anymore. I can't continue to have this pop up in my feed because then it's almost like startling. Like you said, it's the alligator jumping out of the river
Yeah.
while I'm picking my berries. And I'm like, I'm just here to look at puppies and kids. Like, stop.
Exactly. Exactly. And most of the content, there's like this crazy stat that was just shared with me not that long ago, that 90% of the content on social media is coming from 2% of users that are either far on one side or the other side of the spectrum, no matter what the argument or the topic is. It's like people that are far extreme here and far, on say like the left versus the right. And then all of that space in the middle, no one's content is getting really shared. And it's like designed to divide and to keep us arguing and yeah, like having all those dramas and then igniting our traumas and creating those loops where we're just stuck in this victimhood, which is keeping us stuck in that fix it paradigm I was talking about, versus opening ourselves into being co-creators and stepping into this new paradigm of empowerment
Yeah.
and the truth of who we are.
Wow. Fascinating. I mean, I could sit here and just, yeah, I mean, it's just such a great conversation. I did want to give you the opportunity to talk about, I mean, well, there's like 20 other things on this list I want to talk about. I'll just have to have you come back.
Okay, great.
But I know, like, I love people who turn their pain into purpose. So can you just share with people maybe just really quickly, like your personal journey and how it led to this and where you are, because I think it so resonates with folks when they're like, oh, someone that's been through something, and then, this is what they're doing with it.
Yes. So there's so many places I could start in the timeline, but for me, I was having a spiritual crisis, which led me to emotional and mental crisis as a teenager, which led me to being suicidal, which then didn't work, luckily, which ignited me into the idea of purpose because I didn't succeed in my attempts. The doctors actually said, there must be something special about you. You must be here for a reason because anyone else who did what you did would be dead. And so I'm like, okay, what's that mean? Like, I have a purpose. Okay. And it was the first time that I had really thought about this. And that started me on this journey of what is purpose and who am I and how do I align with my purpose as a human and feel fulfilled to live this life's curriculum that I get this opportunity to live. And I, moved away from being suicidal and being more exploratory with like, okay, well, if I'm going to be here because it didn't work, then I might as well start figuring out how to love myself, how to care for myself. Who am I? And what do I have to share in this world? And what is my purpose? And really went on that journey. And then that is the journey that unfolded. And unfortunately, the way that I attempted suicide, it was not a quick kill like I was hoping. It actually was a slow one, and it really put a lot of detriment on my body. And so within a year after that attempt, I was in excruciating back pain. I was even just pain all over my body. I was underweight, having like not an eating disorder, but eating issues where like I really wasn't hungry or I would be really, really hungry. It's kind of like somewhat malnourished in a way, and was just having all kinds of symptoms, all kinds of things coming up that were just like making it really hard to be in my body and to live my life. And I'm like, but I have to be in this body. So what am I going to do? And I got diagnosed with a slew of things from fibromyalgia to degenerative disc disease and scoliosis and a whole bunch of things, and told that I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 30. And I was 16 at the time. And luckily, the inner rebel in me was like, no way, I'm going to figure this out. And, I'm going to try my best to figure out how to get out of pain simultaneously, what my purpose is on this planet, and starting to weave in all of it together, and really beginning to tune into holism and vitalism and what it is to care for myself and as a whole being, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, sexually, physically, in every way, and feel nourished and feel myself coming into balance. And the more that I did that, the more I did align with my purpose and start to uncover different things like my intuition and deep wisdom and knowing of like kind of universal truths and that innate wisdom that was within me. And the path, just that pain that I was in, really helped lead me to different practices and different teachers that helped my life unfold in a way that I was like, okay, this worked. Like, cool. Pain reduced X amount, 20%. I like that. That's great. I'm going to learn how to do this. And so that's really how my path unfolded. It was like, if I found something and it really significantly helped reduce my pain, often physical pain, but also sometimes spiritual, emotional pain as well, then I would just learn how to do it so that I could heal myself and also then offer it to other people so that they could learn how to heal themselves. And that really just became the mission and the purpose. And along the way, luckily found my husband and the lineages that we carry forward, which were the most significant, had the most impact from Alphabiotics, as well as EDGU, which is a spinal maintenance movement series. It's told through a story. It's self-reflective and life-affirming, and it's designed to move and toggle each vertebrae of the spine throughout the sequence so it keeps it pliable and flexible and strong. And really we're as old as our spines. Like that's just the truth of it. So when we maintain the health of our spine, it's the more vital that we end up feeling. And that practice is actually the one that really made the most significant change in my back pain, where I had maybe gotten rid of like 50 to 60% of the pain that I was in. And when I found EDGU practice and was also getting alignments when I could, it just started to heal itself. It like one practice was significantly better. And I was like, wow, I have to know how to do this. And then that just led to me learning it, to teaching it, to now carrying the lineage forward and teaching other people how to teach it and have it in their bodies and have it in their life. And they luckily combine with each other really well. It's a beautiful marriage between Alphabiotics and EDGU. And I just keep living on purpose and helping other people do the same.
Yeah. Wow. And again, I tell people all the time, I have this ginormous coping skills toolbox or
Yeah.
healing toolbox
Yeah.
because I'm of the same thing. Like if it comes across my radar, I'm like, ooh, I got to learn about that. And then I
Mhm.
dive in and so I'll be diving into these two things because I'm fascinated by it. And I just think what beautiful gifts to give to folks. So again, my heart hugs yours and thank you for the work you do. Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I
And
certainly want to give you an opportunity to maybe leave folks with any final thoughts or anything that we didn't touch upon that you wanted to speak about.
well, one thing I would love to inform everyone is that I do have a free gift. If you're interested in EDGU, the practice I was telling you about, then you can go to vitalswirl.com and sign up for a free instructional video that's just like a couple moves of the sequence so that you can start to get it in your body and start to feel if it's right for you and start to balance those hemispheres of the brain, because as you are gyrating the spine and crossing the midline of the body, it makes the brain communicate with itself and also the body. And so just this gift alone can be significantly helpful, especially if you have any back pain, neck pain, things like this.
Yeah. You notice every time you say the word spine, like I try to sit up straighter. I don't know. It's like I'm just like, oh, wait, I'm kind of leaning.
Yeah.
I want to be more, aligned. So
Yes,
I love
definitely. And that's where it all starts, is in our awareness, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, how do folks connect with you? How do they work with you or find more information?
So you can sign up at Vital Swirl and get that free gift, or you can go to vitalistproject.com as well, and you can learn more about us and tune in through there.
All right, wonderful. Well, again, it's just been such a joy, and I've learned so much from you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, and yes, and the work you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been great.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. Remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye bye. Hey, everybody. Teri Wellbrock here. Just wanted to thank you again for being a part of this healing space and my hashtag hope for healing journey. Thank you for sharing, liking, inviting others to join, listening in. You've really helped this show blossom. It has now been downloaded in 136 countries and is in the top 2% globally out of 3.2 million shows, which is just amazing. And it's all because of you and your tuning in and inviting others and sharing and liking and loving. And your reviews on Apple really help too. My goal is to hit 100 5-star reviews by the end of the year. And I am closing in on that. So if you are listening in on Apple or Apple Podcasts, please go and rate the show and leave a review if you absolutely love it. And I would be most appreciative. Also, If you would like to receive my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, please be sure to go to teriwellbrock.com. It's Teri, just one R, WELLBROCK.com. And I have a gift to send you for signing up for that monthly Hope for Healing newsletter. Plus, there are many other resources listed on that page, including a resource library. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.